18th City Council meeting, City of Vero Beach. Pastor Jim Gallagher of Calvary Chapel will lead us in the benediction. Let's all please stand. Remain standing for the pledges of allegiance, please.
First of all, I'd like to say thanks to you guys for your service to the community. We appreciate it. And shall we pray? Father, your word tells us that righteousness exalts a nation, so we pray, Lord, for these men and women that you would give them the courage to make those decisions that are well-pleasing to you. We also know, Lord, your word says that there is a wisdom that comes from above that is pure and peaceable and willing to yield. And we know that many of the decisions are not decisions that are necessarily a moral decision. They're not based upon a right or a wrong, but based upon a good and a best. And so we pray for wisdom and for guidance, that as they make the decisions that will affect the community, the residents of the community, that they would have that wisdom from you. We pray that you'd bless them, Lord. We pray for peace and for direction, for guidance, and for blessing upon our city, upon our county. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do the roll call, I'd like to remember our 34th mayor. He's actually the fourth row down back there, on the far left. William Oscar Jordan Senior, captain thereof, and he had three great loves in life. One of them, of course, is Carol Jean, his lovely wife. The second one was flying airplanes. He was a captain for many years for Eastern Airlines and other airlines. And the third was the beautiful little city by the sea. I'm not quite sure I quoted him correctly, but that's what it came to. And he was an inspiration for us all. We buried him in Crestlawn Cemetery last Saturday. He was serving at the time on our airport commission. So if you'll join me in a moment of silence, please. Mrs. Vach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Here.
Ms. Graves?
Here.
Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mayor Winger?
Here. Okay, agenda additions, deletions, and adoption. Are there changes that anyone would like to make?
None here. No.
Move for approval as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we move on to proclamations. Change the procedure a little bit into the future. The proclamations will be read by various members of the city council, and that we're a group. We work together, and I think it's a good way of doing it. The first one, I believe, is Miss Graves has it.
Okay. Whereas for more than a century, Children's Home Society of Florida has upheld our legacy of transforming the lives of children and families, and whereas on any given day, approximately 125 to 175 children are awaiting adoptions on the Treasure Coast, in the last 3 years, over 350 children have been given the gift of forever families. And whereas Children's Home Society of Florida Treasure Coast Division works diligently with the Department of Children and Families to ensure that every child has a forever family. And whereas children waiting for adoptive parents and families who have adopted these children require and deserve community and agency support. And whereas Children's Home Society of Florida, along with its community partners, embraces opportunities that can potentially change the way society cares for children and youth. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby proclaim that the month of November 2013 be designated as National Adoption Awareness Month, and encourage community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and others to celebrate adoption, honor families that grow through adoption, further an awareness of the changes and issues in adoption, and focus on those children who live in the shadow of an uncertain future while they await forever families.
Is there a representative to come forward? Ah, there you are.
Lovely.
Take the podium and tell us a little bit about yourself.
If you'd like to.
If you'd like to.
Certainly. I am Sabrina Barnes. I'm the Executive Director for Children's Home Society on the Treasure Coast. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to serve the families on the Treasure Coast. Children's Home Society is 111 years this month. And we started in 1902 with adoptions out of Jacksonville. So adoptions are great. We had adoptions today over at the courthouse with Judge Canarak, who is a big fan of ours, and we love him to death. So we thank you for your proclamation and the opportunity to be here tonight. And I will tell you that our goal this year is 120 forever families on the Treasure Coast. We were 114 last year, and we're going to make our 120 this year. So anyone who's interested in learning more about adoptions or what we do at Children's Home Society, look us up on the website. My name is Sabrina Barnes. They can ask for me at any time, and I'm happy to share our mission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you. Come forward.
Thank you. We're pulling for that 120 here.
What's your website?
Second time.
Mr. Fletcher?
Sabrina, you know you're up again. Is Frank Avila with you?
He is.
Come on, Frank. Make it a team effort here. This is for National Runaway Prevention Month. Proclamation, whereas for more than a century, Children's Home Service Society of Florida has upheld our legacy of transforming the lives of children and family. And whereas on any given day, approximately 800 youth are homeless on the Treasure Coast. That's really sad. The National Runaway Switchboard reported more than 280 crisis runaway calls from two Treasure Coast area codes 772 and 863 during 2012. And whereas Children's Home Society of Florida Treasure Coast Division works diligently with the National Runaway Switchboard and the Family and the Youth Center Services Bureau to educate and prevent youth in crisis from running away and subsequently living on the streets. And whereas Children's Home Services Florida provides support service to youth in crisis that aim to move youth into stable living situations, and whereas Children's Home Society of Florida, along with its community partners, embrace opportunities that can potentially change the way societies care for children and youth. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby proclaim that the month of November 2013 be designated as National Runaway Prevention Month, and encourages community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and others to recognize and observe National Runaway Month. As a community, we need to focus on our attention on these children who experience crisis and turn to their streets for support. You are a busy person.
We are busy.
That's amazing. I had no idea that there were that many 800 youth homeless on the Treasure Coast.
There are.
That is really sad.
There are. And so, I mean, it's once again, serving children is a mission for Children's Home Society. I have a great team of employees who work alongside me. I serve them, and it's my pleasure to do that and serving young people.
You have a website that we can get you to put over the...
Absolutely. It is www.chsfl.org.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Frank, you have anything you'd like to say?
Frank Avila, I'm actually the adoption marketing specialist, so she kind of steals my thunder with the first proclamation. But what I would say is that on behalf of those staff persons at both our Wavecrest shelter in Fort Pierce, which is our crisis runaway shelter for 11 to 17-year-olds that are either runaway homeless, ungovernable, or truant, or our youth transition center for the 18 to 23-year-old aged out of foster care,
right,
or our homeless in high school population, we greatly and graciously accept this proclamation, so we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for the
very
work
much.
you both do.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It is my distinct pleasure this evening to read the proclamation for our Eagle Scouts.
I saw them outside. Where are they?
Scouting has been a positive influence and integral part of our community for many years. And the vision of Boy Scouts of America is to prepare every eligible youth in America to become responsible, participating citizens and leaders who are guided by the Scout oath and law. And we are gathered here on this occasion with friends, family, and neighbors to support several of our local youth for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and to recognize their faithful and steady path taken within the Scouting organization. And the Eagle Scout is obligated to live his life with honor, loyalty, courage, cheerfulness, and service. To earn the rank of Eagle Scout, a Boy Scout must advance through 5 ranks: Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star, Life, and Eagle. Earn 21 merit badges, and they are encouraged to complete worthy projects to improve their neighborhoods and their community and the region. And it is apparent that in order to receive this high recognition while attending school, participating in school functions, and volunteering is quite an achievement, and it is reflected in a Boy Scout's persistent dedication to achieve this prestigious award. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby congratulate these young men for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and wish them continued success in all their future endeavors. You are our future, and congratulations. Would any of you like
Come on down
to
front.
come down the podium?
We want to know. Come on.
At least let us know your names, because we're all so proud of you and your persistence in.
Public speaking is part of the course.
Should I?
Yep, that's fine. Go
My
right
name
ahead.
is Devin Kreinbring. I'm 18 years old and a freshman in college right now.
Wow.
So moving forward.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My name's Brett Dutton. I'm 18 and a freshman in college as well.
My name is Jack Atherton. I'm a senior in high school. I'm 18. So
Thank you.
hoping to go to UF.
All right.
Good answer. Good answer.
I'm Wesley Dean. I'm a senior in high school.
My name's Darcy Seymour. I'm a sophomore in high school.
My name is John Licardi. I'm a freshman in high school.
Wow, freshman, and you're already there. Would you like to say something for the group?
You covered it pretty well, actually. The Boy Scouts of America is the premier youth organization in the United States of America, probably throughout the world. We have 6 great representatives with us this evening that are residents of Vero Beach or attend Vero Beach High School, one or the other. That's the criteria to be recognized by the council. We congratulate them, and we congratulate their families and their leaders, and we thank the council for recognizing them. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
We have some certificates for you.
Thank you, leadership.
Give you an overall proclamation to take back for the trip, but I'm going to get one to each of the boys. Y'all are incredible. All the distractions, stick in there, and to get your eagle, it is a wonderful, wonderful accomplishment. Congratulations.
Didn't get any further.
I know, we should have got one to you. Congratulations for sticking this out, guys. Y'all are terrific.
Congratulations. Okay, we move on to the section for public comment. Since this is the first session of a new city council, these comments, you all know that there's comment after each item on the agenda. So if you have a comment about one of the items later on, it may be more focused if you talk about it when we talk about that item on the agenda. But it's up to you. It's free form. We always ask that it be relevant to city matters, to the matters of the citizens of Vero Beach. We try to keep. We won't enforce it, but we ask you as a courtesy to try to keep it within 3 minutes. And the other thing is if you address the council, we ask that you address us as a body of the whole, not any one particular individual. Okay, on the right side of the room, who wants to come up for public comment? Raise your hand, and we'll go from there.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody? Wow.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Wilson, our pleasure. Come forward, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is Charlie Wilson. I am a resident and voter in the city of Vero Beach. My post office box is P.O. Box 651114, Vero Beach, Florida. For several years now, I have come before this board after election, and I have urged this council and the people that depend upon this council to understand and work together on the issues that are important to the people of the city of Vero Beach. I often go and I attend a community church in downtown Vero Beach. And one of the things that we say at community church is that there is more that binds us together than separates us. And for the last 3 elections, I have come before you as the majority. This year, I'm coming before you as what some people may suggest is a minority. However, I believe that the majority truly is what binds us together. And so I once again want to spread my hands an open invitation to put behind us what has happened over the last few months, some of the negativity that we have been through. I congratulate the mayor on your new position. I congratulate Ms. Graves on your new position. Enjoy your adventure. I'd like to point out, Mr. Fletcher, that used to be my chair, and the next door right there is over there. So don't get real comfortable in that chair. I believe that, Mr. Winger, the one thing that we all do agree is that voters, some have given you their trust. They have accepted this council, they've accepted Ms. Graves, and they've accepted you at your words. And when one gives you trust, they give it to you, and what you do with that trust is up to you. I'm looking forward to a year in which we can find the things that give us common ground. I read a recent article, for instance, on that Ms. Graves had written, or was written about Ms. Graves, that had some indication that she was looking forward to working on economic development that had to do with people who telecommute. And I've been working on that for about a year, and I'm looking forward to working as a joint effort with anyone who will help. But the main thing is that this community, once again, has not rejected, just because they changed elections, they did not reject the premise that the sale of Vero Electric is the primary, most important thing that faces this community. And once that is done, we will be able to communicate with each other and work together on many other things. But you know that $2 million, that this community cannot withstand losing $2 million a month, month after month after month, being shipped off to Orlando. You might as well be in a truck and you might as well burn it. So I'll answer that phone. No, I just wanted to welcome you, congratulate you, and although we have important things over the next year, you have a year now. You have a year. Over the last year, a lot of people have been talking about they're not doing it right. You know, it's sort of, the last year sort of sounded like a cartoon of Foghorn Leghorn. You know, you're doing it all wrong, son. Let me tell you how to do this. So now you have a year to do it. I understand that they have another election scheduled a year from last week. So let's see what we can do together. Let's see if we can get forward. Let's see if we can get some relief to the people of the city of Vero Beach who have been toiling under this burden for longer than we need. They have given instructions, and they're tired of the government not following them. But congratulations. You can count on me. If there's anything that I can do to help move along, you can count on me to do it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else on the right-hand side? Well, we'll move to the left. Mr. Whittle, please come forward.
Herb Whittle, 19 Park Avenue, Vero Beach, Florida. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Mayor, on the talk that you gave when you were elected. I thought it was excellent, and I hope that the council will work well together, as you suggested, and get things done. I'm here on a couple of reasons. Partly, the IRNA asked me to come and just push for the fertilizer ordinance. You know my feelings. I've given you pictures. Right now, you've gotten a little thing about chlorophyll. And I just want to quickly go through that, because the grass that gets into the lagoon, when it deteriorates, that chlorophyll disintegrates, and you'll notice that in the middle of each one of those chlorophyll atoms, there is 4 nitrogen. Now, chlorophyll is wonderful because it's green, and if you didn't have it, it turns CO2 into oxygen, so we have something to breathe. But we don't need it, the grass that has it, in our lagoon. And so I hope that you will push for the fertilizer ordinance. And I've heard the turf people come and they talk about several things. They talk about the Florida test that's done that shows that water and doesn't move and that the fertilizer gets absorbed, and that works well in central Florida, but not around here where we have all the canals where the water can quickly get into the canal and take the fertilizer with it. And also, Brian LaPointe and Dr. Witter need to get together, because he says it all comes from septic tanks, and yet Witter says that our area in Vero Isles is the worst, and we've been on sewer for 55 years. So they don't agree. Okay, the other thing is, speaking of grass, I'd like the ordinance that, or the contract that you have with the outfit in Orlando to cut the grass. I wish you'd get rid of that, because those people don't care about Vero Beach. They don't buy their gas here. They don't spend their money here. Essentially, we're sending our tax dollars to Orlando, and we shouldn't be doing that. And I, if anything, put them back under Nadette Haynes. I think she does an excellent job, and I have all sorts of confidence in her. Speaking of that also, you talk about low tax rates, and we've kept the tax rate low. But for us in Vero Isles, you've raised our taxes because you stopped cutting your own grass on the ends of our canals and made us do it. It's your property. You ought to do it. You got a mower right across the street mowing the other side of the road. All he has to do is come across and mow it. And I'd like that brought back. And secondly, or third, I just got my real estate taxes. 11% of my real estate tax goes to you. That means that 89% goes to other people, and yet you are the people that give me all the services. The county, you have a 2.03%, our millage rate. The county has 2 millage rates. They got a 3 millage, which makes no sense to me because I don't know what we get out of it. I talked to Joe Baird, and he really couldn't explain it either. And then they have a 1.97, which is almost the same as our 2, which is for emergency services, which is fire and ambulance. Well, that's fine. But I wish the city council would look into that 3%, the 3 millets, and maybe we can get more of it into the city and take care of our problems, because we get fire, we get police, we get the work that's done, we get our parks and recreation, we get all those things out of that 2, and we get nothing as far as I can see out of the 3, except maybe some roads out in the county, which we don't use. So with that extra money, I would also urge you to get another code enforcement person. Right now, code enforcement is just overworked, and they are not proactive as they should be. They're reactive. And I've been trying to get things done, and it's so slow that I wish you would add to your budget one more person so we can get that work done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whittle. Further people on the left, raise your hand so I can see how many we have. Come forward, sir.
I'm John Blankenship. A few years ago, I visited some friends in the Vero area and fell in love with the area and moved here shortly thereafter. One of the things I did in setting up my budget here, I went around to the places where I was getting ready to buy a home and asked about their electric bills and got an average. And then when I got mine, I found out that I was $80 a month more than everybody else. And one half of my neighborhood has Vero Power and one half has FPL. And it feels to us, and I've talked to many people in suing, that it's kind of taxation without representation. We can't vote, we don't get the services, but we end up paying a much, much higher bill. And so on behalf of the many people I've talked to, we'd like to encourage you to do everything you can to make the sale go as quick as possible, because there's many people out here that the $80 a month is a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Further people, further comment? Come forward and identify yourself and tell us where you live.
John Wester, 455 Fiddlewood Road, Vero Beach, 32963. I'm here tonight to ask you to change the zoning of the Bob Summer football field and the McWilliams Park from the current status to a city chartered park. I'd like to know how this could be done, and I'd like to have some clarification on where we sit with Bob Summers ballpark slowly falling apart. That's it.
Thank you.
Are you asking for comment?
Yeah, please.
City manager would have to answer that.
Okay.
Yes. If you don't, you can give me a call. But on the placing an item into the charter, first of all, it would have to be passed by the city council, and then it goes to a referendum of the people in order to get identified as part of a charter provision. On the Bob Summers baseball field, the Little League has taken care of that to this point. And I heard today that there was a problem. I've got the Parks and Recreation Director looking at that, so we'll find out. But it is a city-owned baseball field, and we will maintain it.
So what is that property presently zoned at? The Bob?
It is the baseball
Williams Park.
It is a park. I don't know what
the C1M.
C1M.
Yeah, it's actually
Marina.
Commercial, marina commercial.
So it's not a park; it's a marine commercial.
Right.
There's a difference between a park and a marine commercial. So how fast can we work to have this made into a real park?
Well, it's being used as a park now.
I understand that, but we don't want it pulled out from underneath us and made a commercial
have it
area.
designated as a park in the charter. We could prepare an ordinance for council consideration.
Tomorrow?
Whatever the direction the council.
Tomorrow? I saw this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's what it would take.
Can we get clarification on that?
Yeah.
Sure. Anytime the council wants, you can.
Mrs. Turner, would
call
you
for
like
a
to comment?
referendum.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have not had a charter review since, I believe, 2005, Ms. Falk. You know, and it may be a time for us this year to look on setting up a charter review commission. I know Peggy Lyons was instrumental in working with that review commission in the past. And I said, I hear a lot of ideas or people things that they would like to do into the charter, and that may be the way to do it. And then prepare whatever referendums that we may come up with or recommend for voting.
Yeah, right now we do have parks in the charter, so this would be an addition to that. But the charter review could be another committee.
But something for a discussion and to get all any of those revisions made at one time. That's an idea.
Ms. Turner, would you
to
be
make this
willing-
less complicated, it sounds like this is very complicated. Is there a way the citizens can just have a petition to do it? Or, you know, the dog people there, we've formed a committee, we've raised literally tens of thousands of dollars that were given to us to beautify the area. And nobody wants to spend the money. If in 2 months after we put $20,000 in there, somebody comes with a bulldozer and builds a marina complex or something. So in order to finish raising the money and to make the park look like a real park, like across the bridge where they have, you know, nice landscaping and everything, ours is just a dirt field. we need to have it as an official or in the charter park, and we don't want to drag this out for half these dogs will be dead in 5 years. So
it does take, in order to get it in the charter, that is a referendum. That has to be a vote of the people.
And if it's not in the charter, you can have any council come in and rescind that ordinance. And I think that's what you were trying to get, at least from the correspondence I read, is that you didn't want it to be arbitrary for a 3-member council vote. So the only way to avoid that is to have it incorporated into the charter.
Mrs. Turner, would you be willing to, at the next city council meeting, add it as an item for discussion for the city council?
A charter review, yes, I would be.
Thank you very much.
I think also we could do this as a resolution. My understanding is that anything acquired as a park after a certain date gets automatic charter protection.
Well, that is true, but it's as we spoke earlier, it's the acquired part. The city already owns the property, so it really isn't just now being acquired. As Ms. Turner was saying, I mean, the council could designate it as a park, but it could be undone by just 3 votes unless we get it into the charter.
Well, could you clarify that for a later time? We can talk about that. And
sure.
For the acquisition process.
Let's talk about it at the next city council meeting. I think Mrs. Turner will bring it forward, and then we'll go from there.
But the fastest route would be for us to, if you obviously, unless you call a special election, your next election is going to be next November. So there is an expense involved if you do call a special election, of course. And Tammy, that's what, in the neighborhood of 20-some thousand.
Yeah, about
I mean, we can. Let's not prejudge where we will be when we talk about it. Okay, but
Be glad to talk with you about it.
we'll be glad to talk about it.
We'll be glad to talk, with the processor and anything else.
Okay, so I can call Wayne tomorrow, and he'll fill me in the details here. Right? Okay.
Okay, thank you for bringing that forward. Other people on the left, we're still in public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Matson. I live at 6435 Patrice Lane, Vero Beach. And I'd like to congratulate Mayor Winger and Miss Graves on their election, and Vice Mayor Kramer on his election to Vice Mayor. I also want to thank Ms. Turner for her unwavering vision and strength as she has led in this community, and outgoing Mayor Fletcher, and just for your commitment to the best for Vero Beach and electorate ratepayers, and standing up for your convictions. I salute you. I also want to thank Tracy Carroll for her hard work and dedication and sacrifices she has made over the past years for Vero Beach. It was said of you, Miss Graves, you want to help people and make a difference in their lives. I doubt that you will ever be able to impact more people for good than with the electric sale. You said, let's get this done. I hope you mean that. Mayor, you ran on your business background and knowledge of contracts in support of the sale. At this time in Vero Beach's history, there could not be a more needed attribute. Let's hope you are up to the task. You are now the captain of this ship, the one who trims the sails to best take advantage of the winds and speed us along. You are the one who navigates us around shoals so we don't become shipwrecked. Well, we have a shoal ahead called FMPA, and they want to prevent us from getting to that promised land, a land of fairness, of lower electric rates for all. I ask you to use those skills that you ran on and navigate us through these treacherous waters. In February of 2013, the Vero Beach City Council approved the purchase and sale agreement with FPL. On March 12, 2013, only 6 months ago, Vero Beach voters overwhelmingly chose to support the sale of the Vero Beach electric system to FPL. Right now, Vero Beach ratepayers are paying approximately 40% more for their electric. What if a motion was given tonight, or made tonight and passed, to give $1,000 to the first 26,000 ratepayers at City Hall who presented their electric bill? I think it would be headline news. City gives first 26,000 ratepayers $1,000. Would the news sources pick it up? Would it be on the local? It sure would be. Would it be in the state news? It would be. Would it be on national news? I bet CNN would have it. That is how much more a year Vero Beach electric ratepayers are being charged than FPL at present rates, $26 million. enough to give the first 26,000 people a $1,000 bill every year. It's outrageous. The only reason I can see for keeping this utility is for the employees. It isn't for the ratepayers, taxpayers of the city with future liabilities incurred with it. I feel for the employees, but the council included provisions in the purchase and sale agreement to take their well-being into consideration. My grandmother and grandfather came from Sweden because there was no work. Married, started life in the U.S., and raised our family. Excuse me. I have experienced layoffs 3 times in my life, as many across this great land have. But it is a lot better for the employees of Vero Beach. They are guaranteed a job with an excellent company who pays at the top of the industry pay scale. Their pensions will be funded. A company that they will have a future with, unlike Vero Beach Electric, a corpse looking for a tomb. In the last few years, FPL has demolished the Cape Canaveral plant, the Riviera Beach plant, the Port Everglades plant, and which are the same vintage plant as we have. They also demolished the Cutler plant, a much older plant, to make way for fuel-efficient natural gas plants. The story here is the new units being built to replace them are 35% more efficient, 35% less fuel used. And they plan to demolish Vero Beach's plant should the sale be completed. Just like a junk car in your yard, it comes time to move on and get rid of it. By not selling this electric utility, we will continue with outrageous electric rates that will go higher and higher, harming struggling families, the elderly, and small businesses. Continued bad press and angry customers. This issue isn't going to go away. Lower property values as people will not want to buy, build, or open a business in the Vero Beach electric service area. Continued liability on the city of Vero Beach. Employee pensions and benefit costs are a major liability now and will only become worse, requiring higher and higher rates in the future to fund them. FPL has agreed to take those liabilities and give good jobs to its employees. I believe anyone who supports keeping Vero Beach Electric is wrong. The same as the council that got us into the OUC contract in 2008. That contract has cost this city $100 million to date in higher electric rates. I urge you to get this sale done. I pray for you, Mayor and Council, and I pray for those struggling families, elderly, and businesses that you would just hold on a little longer. Relief is coming. If this council lives up to its mandate and its word. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the future, we limit reaction one way or another. But in any case, is there anybody further that would like to come up? Okay. In the back. Linda, is it? Linda, Mrs. Hillman?
Good evening, Council. Linda Hillman, 2315 18th Avenue. What a refreshing approach to this new council meeting, having different council members read proclamations. I applaud you all. That was just wonderful, the change in that. I think it came about very well, and I hope it continues. I hope we get a lot of more changes to the way council meetings are conducted. I think it's wonderful. Mr. Wilson stood before you and spoke about the elections. Previous times after elections he spoke and he said, the people have spoken. Yes, the people have spoken again. And this time the people of Vero Beach have spoken. And we're in a cloud of the utility. FP&L tried to buy this last election, and it didn't work. We would not go for that. There are other issues that are in this city right now besides the utilities. And from my understanding, it is now between FP&L and FMPA, and that you have gone as far as you can go until something else is presented to you. So now we want the other issues of this city. We want our new city council, we want our old city council members to remember that we have other issues in this city, and we would like you to start moving on them. Move forward, not just on the utility issues, but on the issues that affect the city and the voters. And I thank you. I applaud Mr. Winger and Ms. Graves for running a clean campaign. I think it was wonderful, and congratulations.
Again, we would rather limit the reaction. But in any case, anyone else in the audience? Mr. Hetty, I see in the back.
The gentleman here that spoke about the park, you can give him some comfort food if you want right away by passing a resolution without going through public hearings and everything else, by simply voting that the council needs to have a 5-0 vote to change or sell any parks. You can make your own rules for your council, and that would give him lots of comfort, and perhaps enough comfort to carry forward with whatever plans that he has, and you could do that tonight. You've heard from a couple of residents who instructed you as to what the voters had in their mind when they voted. I quite frankly don't know how they know what the voters had in their mind, but I want to talk to both of them after the meeting, because if they know what the voters had in their mind, maybe they know what the winning lottery numbers are going to be for tomorrow, and I'll play the numbers, I'll put the money out, and we'll split the difference. I don't know what the voters thought, other than I know the voters thought they don't want me back up there. That was pretty evident. Either that or they like me over here. I don't know. I don't know what they thought. $26 million, and it's not the first time that I've said this, but the employees aren't the enemy. And it's not the only reason. That $26 million doesn't just go to employees. That'd be like $65,000, $70,000 each. There's lots of reasons why the electric bills are what they are, but Jay, I think that you remember when I was on council and you and I managed to get the electric bills down to where we were 5th lowest in the state, I think?
109.
And this council can do what the council that you and I served on, and that doesn't seem to be the mode of the council. But and Mr. Mayor, as far as limiting the reaction, I mean, if that's what you want to do, and you want to caution the residents that show their approval or disapproval, if you want to limit that, then just make sure that you understand that what you're doing is limiting all reaction. So when you have somebody up here that you want to applaud, you won't be able to do that. 150 years ago, we had a president stand on a battlefield in Gettysburg, and he spoke about a war that was testing the limits as to whether a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all are created equal could long endure. 150 years before that, we had a president that said that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And both of those presidents, their words are as true now as they were then. Amelia, before the election, on more than one occasion, you came up to me and we spoke about how I was not treated fairly at this public podium. And I would hope that as an elected official, you haven't changed your mind any, And I love that. And for the audience and that's watching on television, she's smiling and agreeing that she hasn't changed her mind. So anyway, because it is important that all citizens be treated equally at all times in the meeting, even when they're showing disapproval or approval for a particular item or a particular speaker. And anyway, Amelia, did you get a chance to read the book that I gave you?
I have 3 pages left.
Let me tell you one of the takeaways from the book that I wrote is that you see that the council members were not totally aware at the time what was going on, and I think the other council members that are up there with you would agree. And I know that we heard Pilar on more than one occasion speak to that issue, NJ, and the council members at the time of the OUC contract weren't aware of what's going on. And I would caution you that there are people within the staff that will not necessarily tell you the whole truth, or they'll tell you things that kind of steer you off in a wrong direction. And when I was on council, I can tell you that there's a couple of people that work here in city council for the city that will absolutely tell you everything you need to know, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. There's some people on staff that you really can trust for their willingness to share everything with you. But in that book, you saw that the staff wasn't necessarily steering council members the right way. At the last meeting I gave, and this is the 3rd meeting where I've presented to the city council a plan that would give us all lower electric rates. And back when I originally proposed it, I said by November 1st, and then I think the last meeting I said December 1st, and we keep pushing that off, but we could still do it by January 1. We could have lower electric rates. And not one person on staff has ever come back to me, and not one city council member has come back to me in over a month now, to a month and a half, to tell me why that plan doesn't work. And you need to understand why that plan doesn't work. And the council members need to be able to articulate to the ratepayers that this gentleman explained are paying way too much, why that plan won't work, because it can work, and it can give us the lower electric rates that customers are crying out for, and it could do it by January 1st. The plan is public. I talked to Tammy about it. I've spoken with council members privately, and we've talked about different things that might be obstacles, and in the final analysis, we've walked away saying, yeah, this plan will work. So, the plan will work. Let's do something, and we can do it. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, in the back there, please. Mr. Gafanti first.
Just wait.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, Rock. I recognized him first.
No, I understand completely.
Didn't mean to be rude.
No problem.
Age before beauty. Good evening, Council. My name is Joseph Gafanti, and I pay taxes to the city of Vero Beach. Not too long ago, I came to a meeting, and there were about 20 cops standing outside protesting the treatment of the city council regarding their pay and rank. And the reason why that they were upset was because, or the reason why the city was pestering them, let's, for lack of a better word, is that the potential sale of the power system was going to cause a shortfall in the city's coffers. Well, I just picked up one of Vero's finer papers, and it talked about giving the police and other people a raise across the board. And I was wondering what happened to the shortfall that was predicted because of the sale of the plant. And matter of fact, it was so far-fetched that they were talking about selling the cemetery and other of the city assets. Well, the only reason why I could think that they would be offering raises at this time when there's a tremendous amount of unemployment and hard to get a job if you're looking for a job, and you have no other source of money, legally or otherwise. In this day and age, I would think that people who had a job would be counting their blessings. Unfortunately, there are many who are not content with the conditions upon which the goods of life are granted. So what could have changed? And the only thing I could think of is that, well, maybe the power plant, I call it the power plant, but the system is not going to be sold. And somebody asked me, why wouldn't anybody want to sell the power plant? And I said, I don't know. Can't figure that one out. And he said, well, take a guess. And I said, do I have to? He says, yeah. I said, okay. I'll guess that the power plant, the power system, is a money laundering operation that benefits some of the good old boys. I'm talking about the southern white trash in town here. And then somehow they benefit from the operation of the power plant. I don't have a clue of who these people are. Certainly don't swing in their circles, whatever the circles that are in Indian River County. So, I'm lost here. I think, it looks like the sale is not going to go through. That's what I'm going to guess. And for some reason, three of you will come up with some excuse why we shouldn't sell the system. And the cockamamie idea that we'll sell part of it is totally ludicrous. We definitely don't want that aging power plant, that albatross around the future residents of Indian River County. Look at the old power plant, the diesel plant, and the fiasco that this bright city council and other councils and other managers or city managers got us into, lawsuits and fiascos. And speaking of lawsuits, you remember what I said, some of you who were here? I contacted a friend of mine who happens to be a contract lawyer in New York City. Just luckily I know him. And he said there will be lawsuits. And there will be lawsuits. Be careful what you do.
Further comment? Other people come forward, please.
Rock was in.
Oh, Rock, I'm sorry. Senior moment, I guess.
J. Rock Tonkel, and county resident from Grand Harbor. I think over the last 4.5 years, I've testified before this council on frequent occasions, and I believe have shown respect for the council and its rules and regulations. What we've witnessed tonight is an embarrassment. I think that, and the personal conversation and lecturing to a city council person, I think is personally degrading and way out of place. Mr. Mayor, I hope you continue to have reasonable rules and regulations of decorum for all of us to follow. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, come forward.
Hi, Eric Tumso, 1351 White Heron Lane, Vero Beach. A little smaller issue, lighten the mood a little bit. There's a proposal coming to the City Council, I presume, for metered parking at South Beach and JC Park. I'm the president of the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association. Our mission is to promote lifeguarding and water safety in Vero Beach and surrounding communities. We're all for that proposal if the money's generated from the parking go earmarked towards beach services, i.e. Lifeguards, sand renourishment, park maintenance, things like that. And I can tell you that right now, what's happening out there, at least right now, 70% of the folks who come to the beach are from out of town. And the city's been basically hosting the party now for years, and it's expensive. And I can tell you it's mostly 70% from the number of Speedos and accents out there. And I think it's reasonable to say that most people who come to the beach might not mind paying a couple bucks, to park and things like that. If you go to Disney World, you're going to pay some money for admission, and you're assuming that money is going to go towards park employees, park operations. So that's where we stand at Vero Beach Lifeguard Association. So just to put that out if and when it does come to fruition. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Okay, now, is there anyone else? Okay, seeing no further comment, we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. Is on council, what would you like to pull or modify, please?
If I would like to move for approval as submitted, but I would like to make one comment about item 3 and the stormwater treatment system, and just for the public to know that this is another addition of another baffle to an outfall that's going into the Indian River Lagoon. It's for 153 acres that are being drained, and that we're also going to be putting another baffle box there. And so just so you know, hey, we're talking about the lagoon, but the city public works have continued to bring forward these projects. So eventually we will get all these outfalls covered.
I'll second the motion to adopt as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Before adopted, you need to open it up to the public if there's any comments on any consent agenda
Yes, any
item.
comments? Thank you for your help, Wayne. Any comments from the public on any of these? Okay, seeing none, and Mrs. Turner's comments are really quite appropriate, and at some point we'll go over that, but the city has been working diligently to take the bigger outfalls and put baffle boxes, and it's a very, very important effort, so your comments are really appropriate, and I appreciate it. I'm okay now to...
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second for approval.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's adopted as is. Okay, we move on to public hearings, of which we have 5. The first public hearing I'll read, an ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, pertaining to environmental regulation, amending the code of the City of Vero Beach, Chapter 38, Environment, Article 5, quotation marks, Florida-friendly fertilizer use, unquotation marks, providing for conflict and severability, providing for an effective date requested by the City Council. And the first thing we need to do is staff comments, Jim and Wayne.
Yeah, as you know, that this ordinance is designed in conformance similar to that of Indian River County. One of the challenges that the council gave to us is to try to make it uniform across the county so enforcement would be the same inside and outside, since nobody really knows where the boundary lines are.
Okay, that gets the staff hearing, but now we need to have a public hearing on it. So anyone who would like to come forward and talk about the fertilizer regulation, I'll take the left side first this time. So come forward, sir.
Good evening, Council, and welcome and congratulations on the elections. My name is John Bukers of 6530 Vero Beach, 6530 36th Place, Vero Beach. I have a 3-minute statement I should like to read into the record, and to help you with this, I have copies and I would like to pass those down.
By all means.
Make sure it's not.
Not sure whether there's enough. This is a statement in relationship to the ordinance for stricter fertilization. Over the past several decades, excavation and grading with earth movers has radically changed the topography of Indian River County. This has been done with one objective: to assure the rapid unimpeded flow and dispersal of stormwater from the land to avoid flooding. Graded swales between homeowner properties and interconnected swales or pipes guide water to retention ponds whose perimeters are sloped to assure rapid flow of surface water into the ponds. Similarly, torrential rains falling on roads and sidewalks are piped directly to these ponds. From there, graded pipes take the stormwater to one or many of the lateral canals and thence to the main canals that feed directly into the lagoon. This system is so effective that an hour after a storm dropping an inch or more of rain has passed, most of the water falling on the land will have found its path to one or more of the thousands of retention ponds and be on its way to the lagoon using the canal infrastructure. It follows that nitrogen pollution from the land is mainly caused by stormwater runoff during rainy seasons of June, July, August, and September. During this period, the land is flushed into the lagoon, carrying with it residual fertilizer and grass cuttings exacerbated by excessive grass growth. Our house at 6530 36th Place is located adjacent to one of the many retention ponds and is without doubt a microcosm of the lagoon exhibiting the telltale signs of nitrogen pollution. Algae, floating grass cuttings, brown opaque water. The exhibit photos show, which I've passed around, the exhibit photos show, show these conditions depicting the early stages of a dying environment on its way to the lagoon. In the interest of reversing the unacceptable decay of the and ecological 156-mile waterway, we urge you to pass the stricter version of fertilizer ordinance to be consistent with that of Indian River County. Members of the University of Florida's Extension Service Master Gardener Program, of which I am one, refer to the University of Florida for information to provide the general public on gardening and allied subjects. The current recommendation for the low basic maintenance fertilizer level in Central Florida for St. Augustine grass is 1 pound of 50% slow-release nitrogen per 1,000 square foot applied in March, and 1 pound of the same fertilizer applied in September. This recommendation does not reflect the new stricter fertilization ordinance recently enacted by Indian River County and has to be updated because they have to follow the legislation of the county. So as a personal comment, it would seem appropriate to delay the March application to April, allowing the slow release to be active during the summer months. The September application, and this is very important, the September application could be delayed into October or omitted altogether if nitrogen-laden grass cuttings, and Herb Whittle mentioned about this, the grass cuttings contain nitrogen. If that is returned to the lawn, and including the atmospheric nitrogen whenever there's a thunderstorm, we get additional nitrogen. And this has been my personal practice, and 1 pound of fertilizer once a year in April, and experience confirms that the turf will remain healthy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your comments and the photographs, too. On this side, who would like to come forward on the left side, please? Dan?
Good evening. I'm Dan Lamson, Executive Director of the Indian River Neighborhood Association. I live at 737B Timber Ridge Trail in Vero Beach. I have a short statement from the Indian River Neighborhood Association that I will read. The Indian River Neighborhood Association encourages this council to adopt strong fertilizer regulations. The water in the Indian River Lagoon has been declared impaired by the DEP. This requires us to make total nitrogen reductions equal to 51% of current loadings and total phosphorus reductions equal to 47% of current loadings in order to meet the total maximum daily load and improve the condition of the lagoon. There are several ways that this council will be able to work towards saving our lagoon. Many ideas will be brought before you in the coming months and years. One of the least expensive and most effective ways to reduce nitrogen loading in the lagoon is through a strong fertilizer ordinance. This helps stop pollution before it enters the water. By matching the county's robust ordinance, both enforcement and education will be simplified. 4 items that we feel need to be changed from your existing ordinance are the restriction on the application of fertilizer from June 1st to September 30th, the required use of no less than 50% slow-release nitrogen, no phosphorus application without a soil test demonstrating need, and a mandatory fertilizer-free zone at least 10 feet from all water bodies. With these changes and others in the proposed ordinance, the IRNA feels that the City of Vero Beach will be taking steps in the right direction to help save our lagoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone further on the left? Seeing none, we'll just move to the right. Who would like to come forward? Raise a hand, and so I can know who I'm. Okay, in the back. Come forward and tell us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Tony McDonald. I live at 3352 Dion Street in Melbourne. I've worked in Vero Beach for the past 8 years. I've worked with Middleton Pest Control. I'm now with Massey. And just like to reflect my ideas on everything. We all share the common goal of protecting the local water quality. Please support the FDP Model Ordinance as written and reject any attempts to weaken it by adding additional unscientific restrictions. These proposed restrictions include fertilizer blackout dates, product restrictions, and other extreme measures that are not based on scientific or industry-approved best practices and may even conflict with existing state law. Worst of all, these unscientific and overreach regulations may likely hurt local water quality, as they will deny turf the nutrients it needs to be an effective buffer against urban runoff. Please be on the lookout for attempts to unfairly and inaccurately blame urban lawn fertilizer runoff and leaching for the recent Indian River lagoon degradation. There is absolutely no scientific evidence to support such outlandish claims. In addition to problematic water releases from Lake Okeechobee, scientists studying the lagoon have isolated toxins on seaweed eaten by deceased manatees and believe that these toxins are likely caused by sewage coming from leaks in the estimated 300,000 septic tanks scattered around the lagoon. There has been a great deal of scientific, peer-reviewed research conducted on landscape turf grass and fertilization use, and the consensus of public research is clear. Fertilizer properly applied to healthy turf grass results in insignificant leaching or runoff, even under extreme conditions of rain, slope of landscape, or excess fertilization. Experts agree that a dense vegetation cover of turf grass reduces pollution and non-point sources of runoff that otherwise would flow into the waterways. The FDP Model Ordinance for Florida-friendly use of fertilizer on urban landscapes recognizes the environmental benefits of turf in the urban landscape. The FDEP Model Ordinance prohibits fertilizer deposits on impervious surfaces like streets and sidewalks and requires deflectors on application equipment to prevent misdirected applications. It is an ordinance based in science to be best sure all water and environment are protected. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the Florida Department of Agriculture, and the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agriculture Sciences all endorse the FDEP Model Ordinance as offering the best protection of water quality resources. Florida's lawn care professionals continue to do our part to minimize potential nitrogen and phosphorus loading into waterways via improper fertilization. We support the FDP Model Ordinance to ensure the education of and adherence to proper fertilization practices.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I saw another hand in the back here. Come forward, please.
Good evening. My name's John. I live at 4665 Pebble Bay South, and I just have one quick comment, and it's somewhat a rebuttal to what was just read. And the comment works like this. I think it's IFAS, University of Florida document EN1115. And it is a list of questions that defines IFAS research and what IFAS is doing. And question number 4 is something along the line, does IFAS turfgrass research address water quality? And the answer to that in one sentence was no. The research has to do with optimizing the growth of turf grass. Thank you.
Yeah, John, thank you for your comments. Now, I didn't see anybody else. Come forward, sir.
John Davis, 2400 3rd Place, Vero Beach, Treasure Coast Progressive Alliance. I'm here in support of the strengthening the fertilizer ordinance. This is your one chance to do something to save the lagoon. I'm sure you already heard all the arguments, so I'm not going to sit up here and repeat everything that's already been said, but we need a strong ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to discussion by the council. But let me ask Mrs. Vach a question. Is this the second reading of this or the first?
It's the second and final.
Okay. It's open to the council. Who would like to comment?
Mayor, if I might, Wayne, question to you is, has the state come out with a ordinance that would change what we're doing here? I heard that in the pipeline somewhere the state was putting an ordinance together. Have you heard of anything?
No, the only thing that I'm aware of is the statute that requires the city to adopt at least the model ordinance, which you did some time back.
So there's no preemption problem here?
Well,
that you know of. Underline that you know of.
At this time.
There's issues which you've all been given some materials that point out what the guts of the statute says are the things that you need to do before you adopt more stringent standards. It's debatable whether or not those scientific studies and all have been done for the benefit of the city to adopt the more stringent standards. I don't know that the county went that far. Also, there's the issue of the regulation of the quantity and makeup of fertilizer. That is preempted really to the Department of Agriculture for the state. But that's in this ordinance, and a lot of cities and counties are adopting this ordinance in these more stringent forms. So you're taking a risk that, it could be challenged, but the likelihood is probably fairly slim, I would think.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Turner?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to say, yeah. 2 years ago, we started this effort to try to get some regulation to conserve our lagoon. And quite frankly, I've had some great information given from both opponents and proponents of this. But whatever, I think we have to err on the side of the lagoon. And I think it's important that we have a consistent regulation among the city and the county. Once again, as Mr. O'Connor's put, the city lines are not cast in stone. You can't really tell when you're one area or the other. And for compliance, the ease of compliance, that our laws are uniform with theirs. So,
Ms. Graves, would you like to comment, please?
I think it's important that we listen to the community. We've heard a lot tonight. I also think it's important that whatever resolution we do adopt, we continue to keep monitoring the situation. There's a lot of good evidence and research still being done, so we can always amend it later if other facts are presented and we need to change it up.
Mr. Kramer.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Bach, you do a roll call, please.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to 3B, which is an ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, relating to the sale and merchandising of electronic cigarettes and liquid nicotine, creating a new Chapter 73 in the Code of the City of Vero Beach to be entitled Tobacco Products, providing for conflict and severability, and providing for an effective date requested by the City Council. And I believe this also is the second reading. Is that correct?
Yes, there's final reading.
Oh, okay, final reading. Who would like to come forward?
And Mayor, let me explain if you don't mind. Originally, this was modeled after another county's ordinance, but we did remove the provision having to do with restricting the use of e-cigarettes to those areas where smoking is allowed. So that was taken out. So now it just addresses the merchandising and the sale to minors.
Yeah, that's important for the public, that what we're dealing with here, the idea is of the ordinance is to prevent the sale of these devices to those who are under 18 years of age. That's the intent of it. Now, can we get you to shut the door on the back? Thanks.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Who would like to come forward on the right and talk about this, if there is anybody? Amazing.
Open the public hearing. Yeah.
Public hearing. And on the left, thank you.
You're doing well.
Anybody on the left? Okay, we'll close public hearing. Council comments. Who would like to comment?
Now, I'm in favor of this. We've been working to get this done for about a year now. It's about time we do it. I'll make a motion to adopt as presented.
Second.
And second, and just make the comment, I mean, obviously, this has been a great educational effort for me, and I think for most of the council, that we really were not aware of this electronic cigarettes. And in the past 2 months, I mean, the things I've learned, it's absolutely frightening. If anybody hadn't seen the Wall Street Journal ad and talking about the hazards of these electronic cigarettes and the incredible growth in the use of these electronic cigarettes among our youth. So, I mean, the cigarettes companies are just switching from cigarettes to e-cigarettes to addict our youth. And I mean, I certainly am in favor of this and hoping it will send a signal to Tallahassee and to D.C. and that we will get some regulation across the board.
Any further comment? We have a motion and a second. Mrs. Vaughn?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, item 3C, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, repealing Resolution 20112-18, establishing prices and fees for Crestlawn Cemetery, establishing hours of operation, and providing for an effective date requested by the Public Works Director. And it might be worthwhile, Jim, you commenting on what you're doing here.
Yes, as you know, we were requested to place forward a business model in the ongoing business of the Crestlawn Cemetery, which we did. Part of that recommendation was adjustment in rates that we are proposing in this resolution that would help us keep in line. We projected over a 5-year period for that business model to take place. These adjustments, there was, I think, one that went down, but the majority did go up.
Okay, public hearing. Open up public hearing. Is there someone who'd like to comment? Tony?
Real quick, my name is Tony Young, and I live at 2204 Vero Beach Avenue. And I just would like to comment to the staff, and I know we've been looking at the Crestlawn Cemetery since probably May timeframe, and looking at different capacities to this. And in speaking yesterday with the Pilot Club, it brought home the significance of Crestlawn, and this directly relates to this strategic plan. And as you look at the men on Memorial Island, I recounted a tale of a young sailor who was aboard a ship that began the preliminary stages of World War II, and that was Gene Guy Evans. And Gene Guy Evans is a man that was aboard the Reuben Janes, and he is a man that is a part of the history of our nation. His grave is centrally located in Crestlawn Cemetery. So the efforts of this body to provide for a vision for the future for Crestlawn is crucial to maintaining the tradition of Vero Beach, which I think transcends just this little coastal town and impacts upon the entire United States. So in light of that, as we look forward, this is an opportunity to pursue keeping it as a part of the tradition and the legacy that's Vero Beach. I just want to say thank you for the staff work. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Is there further comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion of this. Mrs. Bach, this is the final hearing also? Is that
Yes,
correct?
Mayor.
All right, I'll open it for discussion by the council. Mrs. Turner, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'll continue with my comment. I mean, it's clear that the community wants to keep the cemetery, but this plan is flawed. I mean, even the increase of the rates are below the municipal average that was submitted by staff. And with these increased rates, we'll still be having experienced a loss at the cemetery until after 2016, and have no reserves. I think we really need to have a better plan to protect the cemetery.
Thanks for your comments. Who else would like to talk about this?
I would. I'd like to commend the city staff for working really hard to try and preserve something that's so important to this community. I know a lot of time and effort and energy went in to ways to incorporate this so it could work and grow, and it can still be adjusted as we go, but I'm really glad that they've come up with a solution that allows Crestlawn to continue.
Well, if there's no further comment, would someone like to make a motion? Or?
Just one thing, as far as Crestlawn continue, you do realize that we're continuing to work at a loss in Crestlawn until 2016. I mean, we are losing $100,000 on Crestlawn on an annual basis. I just want that to be clear. And this is what my reason for concern about this financial plan. Thank you.
Well, I think most cemeteries, when they fill up, operate at a loss when you take care of them. I don't know of one cemetery that's municipally owned that operates at a profit once they're full up.
The question is, we are not full up, though, Mr. Kramer.
Okay, so we just throw haphazard our loved ones into the wind, whoever has the highest bidder, thinking they're to take care of them?
No, sir. I'm just saying that this is a failed plan.
I've got my mother-in-law there, and I don't want to just haphazardly just throw it out there and just think some guy's going to take care of it.
Well, you know what?
That isn't the issue. I said certainly we've seen the community wants to keep the cemetery, but I think we need a better plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think Miss Graves is correct. And also the numbers I see, Jim, don't show that at all. And on a year-by-year basis, we have a build-up deficit from having built the columbarium, which we don't get rid of to 2016. Am I missing something or not?
No, sir. I think we will cover our operational costs. We do have invested in embedded cost in that where we did capital projects, and we are down over the $100,000 mark that we took out of other accounts.
So to clarify, Mrs. Turner is correct. We have a deficit from the past because of the capital work that we did, but on a continuing basis, we are in the black, and this will put us further in the black. I think it's a step in the right direction for myself. Mr. Fletcher, do you have a comment?
I think it's a step in the right direction, but not enough of one. I won't be able to support it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, I believe. Call the roll call. A roll call, Mrs. Bach.
Mr. Fletcher?
No.
Mrs. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
The motion passes 3-2.
Okay, if the public will bear with me, 3D is rather long. And so that you understand it, what it is it's pro forma. In other words, it's truing up the budget for last year. The money is spent, but under state law, our budget has to equal what we spent one way or another. So I'm going to go through a long series of numbers. And there may be somebody in City Council that has comments. Some of you may, too. Anyway, it reads as follows. An ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, providing and establishing revisions to the budget for the City of Vero Beach, Florida for the period beginning October 1st, 2012 and ending September 30th, 2013 by decreasing the general fund by $30,518, by increasing the straight paving and drainage fund by $243,195, by decreasing the infrastructure and real estate improvement fund by $10,000, by decreasing the electric fund by $1,693,953, by decreasing the electric R&R fund by $2,360,430, by decreasing the water and sewer fund by $459,566, by increasing the water and sewer R&R fund by $4,185,200, by decreasing the airport fund by $22,589, by increasing the airport construction fund by $76,203, by increasing the marina fund by $107,374, by increasing the solid waste fund by $2,749, by increasing the recreation fund by $36,379, by increasing the recreation construction fund by $17,131, by increasing the risk management fund by $40,318, by increasing the confiscated property fund by $17,600, by increasing the law enforcement education fund by $5,000, by increasing the Crest Law and Cemetery Trust Fund by $1,633, all from revised revenue expenditures and transfer estimates requested by the finance director. And I guess I call for a public hearing on this first.
Well, you can hear a presentation from our finance director, and then.
Thank you.
Which will be brief and shorter than the reading of the title. As you pointed out, this is our first and final budget amendment for fiscal 12-13, which is the fiscal year that actually ended about 2 months ago. And we do this as a true-up in conjunction with preparing our audited annual financial statements that will be completed in March 2014. This is the same as the one you approved on first reading on October the 8th. The bottom line here that we talked about before is that in the general fund, we're projecting our expenditures to be slightly less than, about $30K less than our original adopted budget. And that is actually a very conservative number. It should be better than that, but we're required to do this before we actually finish all of our accruals and adjustments to last fiscal year, and so we like to be conservative. And as we talked about, this is a huge improvement over a few years ago, we think attributable to a lot more internal controls over budgetary compliance, a lot more scrutiny by department heads, quarterly variance analysis and reviews that we do with the Finance Commission, and also just some more realistic and conservative budgeting that we've done over the last couple of years as we've refined our estimates. The other funds are updated as well, and the only other thing we'll be doing soon is a first quarter amendment for fiscal 13-14 to reflect the carryovers for those capital projects that didn't actually get completed in 12-13 that are multi-year projects, and to make that adjustment. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Somebody from the public may have a question of you too, Cindy. Rock does.
I didn't plan to say anything tonight.
That's a good story, but it won't fly.
Cindy, first of all, is this a routine? I understand the legal requirement. I don't recall in the past years about looking at some of these figures, but I'm particularly interested, obviously, as a member of the Utility Commission and as a citizen, to the electric fund and the decreases there, and why, excuse me, just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we passed another rate increase, which I felt was unnecessary at this time. But in any event, it's sort of striking because of the amounts involved, and it raises the question, to me at least, as to whether or not the rates were the need for the rates were overstated at the time the case was made and the budget was prepared. I don't know that. I'm not making an accusation. It just raises a question, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Cindy or Jim about this, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants to some degree. The other figure here that really astounds me is that the increasing the water and sewer and R&R fund by $4,185,000, and I don't know where in your budget discussions you came to do that conclusion or those priorities. It looks here that it's simply a catch-all, and all the other the balances were required to meet this legal requirement. So I'm confused, and I think the public would be confused if they took the time to look at the city's budget. There may be an easy answer. If there is, perhaps
Cindy has an answer for you.
There are actually
The second one there is for sure.
Cindy, before you start, Rock, just for clarification, budget amendments are annual events. Oftentimes, you do it semi-annually, and then at the end of the year, you do a budget amendment to sort of true up your expenditures and your revenues, because a budget is just a working document. So therefore, when we project revenues, they could be off, either up or down, in expenditures in some cases. And 2 years ago, we sort of got caught because we didn't do a budget amendment until a crisis happened at the end of the year. And so that's why Cindy prefaced this by saying that with the work of the department directors and more coordination and putting in rules and regulations, we were able to get by really with a moderate type of budget amendment. But I think Cindy can address those particular questions.
Because the budget amendment gets represented as a single number, either a decrease or an increase, in the case of the electric utility, if you look at the backup, and I can show you these numbers here, the decrease actually represents a fairly substantial decrease in our revenues. And to balance the budget, what you'll see because of that decrease in revenues and the increase in expenditures is a deficit of $970,000 projected for year-end 12-13. And so that is the deficit we talked about at the Utility Commission meeting that we were trying to increase our rates in order to correct in 13-14. So if you could, I'll show you the actual specific numbers here, but because we style it as a decrease, it makes people think that the expenditures have gone down, when in reality what went down tremendously were the revenues, and the expenditures increased, and the backfill, if you will, is to have a deficit going forward into next fiscal year. On the water sewer...
Could I just interrupt?
Sure.
And I understand that, thank you, and I just didn't understand the terminology. Did we evaluate that at the Utility Commission, this specific?
Rick, could you talk into the mic for the public?
Did we evaluate that decrease at the Utility Commission when we went through the last rate sufficiency study?
We did, in that in order to talk about the 13-14 rate sufficiency, we talked about our projections for year-end 12-13. And those were, I think, provided as part of the agenda package. And those year-end 12-13 projections were incorporated into this year-end 12-13 budget amendment. And I think what we showed in the year-end 12-13 rate sufficiency projections was a deficit of $950,000 or so. And that's what we're showing here in this budget amendment, is a deficit of about $969. So yes, and you didn't look at this specific document, but the numbers you looked at for 12-13 were incorporated in that discussion.
Thank you.
The water sewer one was really two primary changes that were talked about and I think talked about at least one of them or two of them with the Utility Commission. During the year, we undertook to add to the budget that Clean Bee sludge processing system, which was an increase of about $1.5 million. And we also, during the year, added $1.8 million of principal pay down for that loan refinancing that we did for water sewer. So between that 1.8 and that 1.5 that we discussed throughout the year and included in the capital budget, that's the bulk of the increase in the water sewer capital fund.
As usual, she has very good answers, and thank you very much for that explanation. They might be helpful to the general public. What I wanted to simply, what I hope wasn't happening, is that this represented some reordering of priorities in public policy, and I think that given those explanations, I and others are assured that that's not the case. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, what we're doing is aligning with the policy being set, the expenditures and revenues.
Throughout the year, correct.
Rock, thank you for coming forward. And let's see, I guess we have further public hearing if anyone else wants to come forward. Okay, seeing none, open it to discussion. Mrs. Turner.
I move for approval. I think we had discussed this quite thoroughly in other meetings, and Ms. Larson did an excellent job.
I'll second that.
Mrs. Bach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, now we are on 3E.
Okay.
And this is a final reading also?
This will take one more public hearing.
One more public hearing.
Second public hearing will need to be on December 3rd.
Okay, I'll read it and then we'll get staff comment. An ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 60, Appendix Definitions of the Code of the City of Vero Beach by creating a definition for community garden. Amend Chapter 64, Article 1, Development Review by creating Section 64.14, quote, community gardens, unquote, providing procedures and standards for regulating community gardens, amending pertinent sections of Chapter 61, residential zoning districts, Articles 1, 3, 4, and 5, to provide for community gardens as a principal use in residential zoning districts, providing for conflict and severability, providing for an effective date, requested by the Planning and Development Director. And Tim, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This draft ordinance, as pointed out in the title, it will allow community gardens on vacant lots as a temporary use within residential districts. These gardens would be regulated through a special permitting process. We have special development standards that are provided to mitigate any off-site impacts. The ordinance came out of an efforts of Will Tremmel, who's actually the foster. He is the father of this. And Will provided us a draft ordinance to start with, and we followed up by looking at other municipalities and draft the ordinance, had a workshop with the Planning and Zoning Board, made a few comments there, made revisions, and they unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance. So unless you have specific questions of me of this ordinance.
Well, I do have two specific questions, but should we open the public hearing first, Mrs. Bach? So anyone who wishes to come forward from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public hearing, and then I'll ask the questions. If you go to page 3 of 9, and you go to, boy, there's so many numbers on here in subsections, but if you go to section 3, plantings, containers used for stores or any storage shed shall be located no closer than 15 feet to the side or rear property line and no closer than 25 feet to the front property line. I question whether 25 feet is too close. In other words, shouldn't any shed be towards the back? It's just, I mean...
Well, that's generally the front yard setback for all properties, 25 feet.
Yes, I know that, but wouldn't we rather have any sheds towards the back of the property? And I open this for the city council. Mr. Fletcher, I mean, I don't know what you think.
I hadn't actually thought about that. I read that number and it seemed reasonable to me, but now that you mention it, it does seem as though the setback would be from the backyard as opposed to the front.
That was my thought.
I would join you in that question.
So, anyone else? I mean,
there's no reason why you can't do that. I mean, if you need a shed, you might as well put it towards the back.
Yeah, let's have them revise that.
I'll revise that to require it within so many feet.
Okay, that's
give
fine.
an area in the back.
That's
since
fine.
we're coming back to another hearing, you will see the new language.
That's fine. And my other question under here would be 7 underneath it. One small sign per street frontage identifying the individual's neighborhood, community, or subdivision or not-for-profit groups sponsoring the garden may be placed on site. Said sign shall be no larger than 3 square feet in area and 3 feet in height and shall meet the setback requirements for signs not requiring a permanent chapter. I as you know, I dislike signs that are bigger than 2 feet across and 1.5 feet tall. No different than any other sign in Vero Beach. It's just a personal opinion. It's not a deal breaker.
Well, we settled on the 3 square feet sign, if you recall, when we went through the temporary sign ordinance. So I try to make that consistent with that. But
this is not a temporary sign, though. It's going to be up here, is it not?
Well, it's like for sale signs. I have a house that's been up for 7 years.
What I'm saying is...
But it is a temporary thing. It could be up for a year.
Why wouldn't it be the same size as a for sale sign or a roofing work done?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That we use the 3 square feet is. I followed that. If you would like it smaller, it's certainly it's your prerogative.
No, I'm not trying to do that. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. My mistake.
Oh, sorry. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So no exterior lighting is permitted. That's 9, right down there.
Correct.
Are we talking electric lights, or what about like solar-powered lights that sometimes people use to line paths?
We were really talking more like the light shining on. I wasn't thinking of that. I'll take a look at that, but that wasn't the I understand what you want, the low to the ground.
Sometimes they have the solar lights, people light paths, and mainly because if you have a piece of property that has stuff on it, maybe you want a few lights just so you can see if people are trespassing or anything like that.
Well, but work's not supposed to be done on these after sunset, so there's not really supposed to be people on the property.
Right.
So
No need for lighting.
Pardon?
No need for lighting.
No need for lighting, and
Of any
that's why we
sort,
did that.
yeah.
But if you would like me to look at that, I certainly could come back. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt as revised with the shed located in the back, Tim.
Okay, and I'll come back with the specific language.
And I second that. And I want to thank you and the planning and zoning for helping Will make this project. Come to fruition.
He keeps calling me.
Thank Will.
He doesn't realize how long the public process takes to get an ordinance through.
Has he been able to plant yet?
I think he's still working at it. I told him as soon as the ordinance passes, I'll expect him in my office to get his permit.
Mrs. Vach?
And I'm sure he will be.
He will be. Yes, he will be.
Mrs. Vach, make that happen, please.
We have to move this for another hearing then for December the 3rd.
December
is the motion.
3rd.
Right.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, we move to 4A. These are resolutions, and we will have public hearings on them. The first one is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, banking City of Vero Beach interest in west 3 feet of Lot 5, Block 1, Indian Bay, being a portion of utility easement dedicated by plat record in Plat Book 3 at page 43 of the Public Record of Indian River County, providing for an effective date. And this staff comment?
Yes, this is abandonment of an easement where we're going to do some improvements for drainage. This is in a neighborhood where we have a lot of street drainage, and we're trying to improve and have received the right to cross and get an easement from an adjoining property owner.
Do I have a question? Mr. O'Connor, in reading this through, it looks like I know this area. This is part of my dog walking area, and it's talking about putting in a 10-inch pipe to take the water outfall. I'm thinking about the amount of water and a 10-inch pipe going into the lagoon. Are we going to have any kind of a baffle or on this pipe outfall? Mr. Foss, good to see you.
Good thought.
Monty Falls, Director of Public Works, and thank you for bringing it up because I always like to talk about the positive things that we are trying to do for our lagoon and our neighbors with drainage. But this is at Club Drive in Lantana Lane, where we've had for years severe street flooding because we did not have a positive outfall to the river. And we were more lucky than good in this instance. We've been trying for years to get an easement from some property owners. There was a house that was sold and torn down. The new builder came in and worked with us to give us a bigger easement on this property line. So we had to vacate the one that was there first. That's what you're doing with this. And he's given us back a 10-foot permanent easement, which will give us 13 feet to work in, and we will be putting an outfall to the river. And we're using a different process. We're not using a big baffle box like we've done in the others. We're doing some individual things at the inlet locations where the water actually comes in. Because the watershed was smaller, it's a new process that we're going to try and monitor to see if it works. And we're real hopeful that this will be something that we can then use on some of our smaller watersheds when we have we won't have the big capital outlay, but we'll still be able to have that benefit of cleaning up the nitrogen, phosphorus with the best management practices that are available.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mr. Foss.
Is there any comment from the public? Seeing none.
Mayor, let me just add one thing. Underneath the resolution, you do have the two related easements listed.
I'll read the easements. Lantana Lane Drainage Improvement Drainage Easement number 2013-EG-0137 and temporary construction easement number 2013-EG-0138 requested by the Public Works Department.
And those are the related easements all you're doing is accepting those so that we can.
And I was reading those into the
care of
record.
that.
I should have read them earlier. Thank you for your help. Do I have a motion?
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
This is a voice vote, right? All.
Nope.
No,
Roll
it's
call.
not. Okay.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. Okay, we move to 4B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, abandoning all City of Vero Beach interests in certain portions of the 3 Aves utility easement, quotation marks, EN quotation marks, recorded in an official record book 1342 at page 733 of the Public Records of Indian River County, Florida, providing for an effective date requested by the Public Works Department. And I guess staff comment?
Yes, these are easements we no longer need in that general area. We, as they're building the new projects, and you saw under some of the consent agenda where we've accepted additional easements in order to get the utilities to the buildings.
Right.
All right, thanks for the explanation. Anyone from the public like to comment? Seeing no comment. Council, your pleasure, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mrs. Bach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. We move to 4C, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, granting a non-exclusive franchise to Allied Diversified Incorporated, DBA Reliable Septic and Services, to provide roll-off container solid waste collection and disposal services within the City of Vero Beach, providing for an effective date requested by the Public Works Department. Staff comment, please.
Yes, this is in conformance with the city council's policy to try to make all the expiration dates uniform in the system. It just so happened that a company called Holland Trash Incorporated merged with one of our existing companies, so this follows in that same pattern and gives that, it's non-exclusive franchise.
Any comment from the public? Seeing none. Council's pleasure, please.
Move to adopt as presented.
Second.
Mrs. Bach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes. First readings by title for ordinance and resolutions. We have none. City Clerk Banner. Mrs. Bach?
I just have one item. Attached is the committee appointments for the City Council for 2013 and 2014. And if council is happy with their new committees, then I will let all the different organizations know who will be serving on the committees.
Well, speaking for myself, I have no comment. I'm happy with them.
I have enough.
I'm good.
Me too.
But accept those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, city managers matters. I have one question of you, Jim, but you may probably going to preempt me on it, so go ahead.
Well, are you talking about the old diesel plant? Is that?
Yes, what I was thinking is an update of where we are would be valuable. It's somewhat confusing.
Well, it's probably a legal response that's necessary, but one of the things that the City Council had asked the City Attorney and I to do is to meet with our present tenants, and we have met on several occasions. There was a lawsuit filed, and then we have had an eviction notice sent, but we're in the tolling period. And Wayne, if you don't mind, if you can explain tolling period.
We had come to an agreement with them, suggested by outside counsel, because we were coming up on the original, basically statute of limitations, and so that everyone's rights would be preserved, both the tenants and the cities. And in the meantime, I guess they got a little anxious and kind of jumped the gun and filed a lawsuit just to protect their rights. And they are still willing and in fact, urging us to sit back down at the table with them. The lawsuit has not been served, and no summons has been served, so there's no time running on that yet. We did, in order to be in a position, in case we did get served, to file a counterclaim for eviction and non-payment, and also collection of the non-paid rent. We had to do a 3-day notice for non-payment of rent, and also we we're required to do a 10-day notice for any other breaches, which we have set out in that notice. And that would enable us, when we do respond to the lawsuit, should we need to respond to the lawsuit, we can go ahead with those actions against the tenant. I believe we are scheduled to meet with them this week, I believe, isn't it? Thursday or Friday?
Thursday or Friday. Thursday, I believe it is.
And we'll be meeting with them and basically see what they have to say and where they want to go. We've had some discussions that we thought were going in the right direction, and we'll talk with them some more this week and see how that goes and see should we go ahead and proceed with our countersuit.
Jim, I believe you've had some other interests in the property that would be beneficial for the city. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, we have. We've had a couple of, I've talked to 3 different groups who have shown an interest in the diesel plant itself. One of those put their request in writing, which I believe each member of council received, as saying what they were going to do, which is a boutique type of distillery. But I've also talked to a company that would come in and do a brewery with a restaurant type of activity in it. The Cultural Council has also shown some interest in what they would do. I think the real part of this is there is an interest out there for diversification in the use of this. I have told everyone that I've talked to that the 2 parameters that I would recommend to City Council before you accept anything, one, it would have to complement 14th Street and the development that has taken place up there and have some type of attachment to that because of the close proximity. And the other, it would have to be a destination point of some type where people would actually be coming there. The boutique distillery and the brew pubs have historical, and I think around the country, become that type of setting. And so that, I think, would complement what we're trying to do in our Main Street area. So that's sort of the word that we put out. Hopefully we can try to work something through our tenants. And if we can, then we'll bring that back to council for your consideration. Otherwise, we'll proceed down the road of the eviction, and then we'll take it over and try to do probably an RFP or something like that for disposal of the plant.
Mayor, if I might.
Yes, by all means, go ahead.
My concerns are they're going to just stall. Have we put a sunset clause somewhere in this?
One thing basically in that tolling agreement that we did execute, there was a 30-day period to terminate it and proceed with some other action. And we've taken the position that based on filing the lawsuit and the letter that we received from their attorney, that was notice of terminating the tolling agreement. We think that 30 days is running now. So basically, probably by the end of this month, we could go ahead and just countersue. We can waive service process if need be and just go ahead and file the countersuit.
I would encourage, as the council, we need to make that decision. I personally would encourage you to go ahead and file. They're not going to settle this. This has been too long. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. We've got the clearance for the environmental. They have nothing to complain about. We've done our side of the bargain.
We are proceeding under that and having the 30 days, as Wayne said. I guess it'd be December the 1st would be our tolling date would be up. We will try to meet with them, and still, as a good landlord, which is unbelievable, I would say that because I don't think we are very good landlords, but we will meet with our tenant and try to work out an agreement. If we can, then we'll bring something again back to council for consideration. If we can't, we'll proceed under the other auspices.
Would you notify council if they do have a tenant, if they do get a meeting scheduled? I mean, I'd kind of like to know when it is and maybe sit in on that so I can see what their concern is on it. I mean, I'd like to see them work with these people that want to come in, just see if we can find a way to get out of this.
The meeting on the old diesel plant will be on Thursday, the 21st at 3:30.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Jay's been closest to this, but I think it's time that we came to a useful conclusion, and I agree with Mr. Fletcher on that. But
We've been
it'd be good
batting
to
this
have you
thing around
present.
for so long, we need to come to some definitive action.
And to have
Right.
some timetable, I agree.
Right.
Well, the reason we didn't do action before is because we didn't have an alternative. Now
Right.
that we have an alternative, we need to bring it to head and get it
Yeah,
done.
it's been years and years.
But I'm comfortable if the rest of you are having Jay be our point man.
That's fine, yeah.
I was just wanting to know when the meeting was.
No, but I think it'd
He
be good
still
if you
wants
want.
to leave it in Mr. O'Connor's hands, I think.
I think he heard a volunteer is what he heard.
I second that.
Okay.
Well, since it's not going to be an advertised public hearing, I would request that not more than one of you show up if anybody wants to come.
Yep, that's why we nominated Jay.
I'll yield if you guys want to come.
No.
Mr. I do have I have a
Go
question for Mr. O'Connor, please. We talked about lifeguards and their capital funding. Can you give us an update on where we are with that?
Yes, the listing of items that they had, some of those, for example, the radios, we already had in our capital budget, so we had some of the items already covered. The issue of the non-capital wish list and some of those other items, the exposure, I guess, to the city's budget would be about $30,000 if we want to proceed with some of those that are over and above what the budget. I would like to request that we hold off on that until we try to get some of our union contracts behind us, and then we come back under those scenarios. But again, we're addressing, I think, what the critical issues are, communication being one of those.
Yeah.
And we are looking at the removal of the lifeguard from the Humiston Park boardwalk and moving it out like the other, because that was one of their requests.
Yes.
And we're trying to get better numbers
the
on that.
tower over there.
The tower, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think it's, just important that we continue to get looking at these capital items for our safety. And
Yeah, absolutely. And the head lifeguard is having input into this discussion with the recreation director.
thank you. I'll put out to revisit it for next year then.
Is it going to be next year before we get the clearance that all the union negotiations have?
No, I'm hoping it won't be next year. We'll have it before then.
Okay.
But then we'll figure out which one of the items that we can take out of that, because the 30,000 is really the high number on what would be recommended on this year's budget at this point.
Okay. Well, just for informational sake, so December 3rd, is that going to be our only meeting in December?
Yes.
Okay. So just one more meeting, and then that's the end of the year. Okay.
Further questions?
That's what I'm saying next year.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Further questions of Mr. O'Connor?
No.
Wayne, do you have comments?
I don't have any unless you have any questions for me.
No.
There's no old business or new business listed. So I guess we're on to individual council members' matters, and the one I was concerned with, Mrs. Turner will bring forth on December 3rd, which is talking more about the the Bob Summers Field and the rest of it. The other thing, too, both Mr. Kramer and Mrs. Turner do a good job of updating us on what's going on in the city, and I encourage you to move forward with that. And so the two of you. So my comment is I yield the floor.
Okay. You want me to go ahead with my matters
Yes.
then? Okay. All right. Well, I did attend the Main Street Vero Beach board meeting, and now that the season is back, we've got an awful lot of individuals that are showing up for the meetings and got great participation. I believe they did pretty well with the haunted house that they did. Actually turned out pretty good from what I'm hearing. A lot of good stories. We've got the Downtown Friday coming up. Glad to see that the Downtown Fridays are going to start happening again. Get a little bit of reorganization there. The Veterans Day ceremony, I think a lot of us did attend. There was a little change. The politicians had to sit on the grass this time, and the veterans got to sit up on the stage, which I think was really quite fitting. We're continuing with our fundraising efforts. The Royal Palm Point on December 6th. We are going to have our 5K run, which is going to be done in the evening. So there's going to be kind of the people in Vero Isles are going to see people with glow sticks running through their neighborhood. nothing to be alarmed at, but we're going to continue the Christmas tree lighting, and all the funds will be directed towards seeing if we can keep the fountain open for the children a few more days out of the week. Just last thing, yesterday the Boy Scouts held a fundraiser over at Fujiyama. It's one of these fundraisers that not a lot of people know about, but it's starting to get around. But I was there as a celebrity chef. Amelia, you were there as a celebrity chef as well. And we were there sloshing the rice and flipping the shrimp and steak. And the Boy Scouts really had a great time, and really glad to be a part of that. Hope to be part of that next year as well.
So glad I still have my eyebrows.
Singed your eyebrows a little bit. Yeah.
Balls of fire going up.
Thank you, Stuart. When we were going over commissions, I forgot to ask about the railroad. And I know they're probably not having any of the regular meetings, but then we had talked about having a railroad commission to try to look at what we can do for our city if we're going to have 32 trains coming through. And I mean, there are a lot of movements going around, and I'm hearing within the Treasure Coast regional groups that, I know West Palm is trying to get
state money.
Yeah, and that's certainly where it got to come from, the state money, or require this developer to provide the funds for the quiet zone. So I didn't know if we still wanted to have somebody on the council following those issues, or...
Well, I would volunteer. Railroads are one of my loves, and I've worked a long time in the railroad industry, of all things.
Well,
so.
Fabulous. I'm so glad to have that expertise.
I have one last item, unless, Craig, you're looking at me. Do you want it?
No, I appoint you if I could. I think I heard a volunteer there.
I have one less item than any of the rest of you, so if that would
Great.
be fair.
Okay. Then back on items. I attended the Indian River County Commission, or Indian River Lagoon Counties Collaborative. And you know what, guys? I'm afraid we're setting up more bureaucracy to look at our lagoon. Yep. I mean, I would love for us to have this countywide, multi-county group to share solutions and ideas. But to think that we're going to set up another layer of bureaucracy to handle funds, to prioritize projects, and then to distribute the cash, I think we're making a nightmare. So anyway, it was interesting to hear from the different areas. And once again, I'm hoping I could learn some positive solutions from them, but hopefully we'll keep the bureaucracy limited. The Samaritan Soup Bowl, thanks to all the wonderful artisans and the many volunteers all over the city that made that event such a great success. All the wonderful restaurants that cook soup for everywhere. Hibiscus Center Girls Night Out, once again, a great success out at the Skyjet Terminal. Thank them for letting them support that event every year. The Land Trust is continuing to do a great job in raising funds to protect the lagoon. They had a beautiful event. Love the lagoon. And thanks to Rob, the All Public Works crowd, all our wonderful veterans, Memorial Island Committee, that they did an absolutely beautiful job of honoring our veterans this year. And even as far as having a lift there on the stage for many of our World War II veterans, wouldn't have had a chance to be up there without it.
We only had one fallout, which is good.
I thought it went great, Jim. Thank you. Upcoming things: Oceanside concert this Saturday, and along with that, it's a great time of year to be welcome. We're welcoming a lot of our snowbirds are back. A lot of more tourism coming in. But I want to remind everybody that it's so important to shop locally. If we want to maintain the facility, we want to maintain those resources in our community, we need to support these stores. And it's a wonderful time to do it. They will find something unique, far more fun, ladies, than being on the internet shopping, to go out and stroll in our many shopping areas. So please encourage everybody to shop locally this holiday season. And for your Thanksgiving visitors, take them out to Main Street. Day after Thanksgiving, they've shopped all day. You need to find something fun for them to do, and it's going to be a great event. And there's still time to sign up for the boat parade. Tim Grabner over at the marina, there's no cost for the parade. It will be on December the 6th, along with all the other great activities going on at Royal Palm Point. So that registration is till the 20th of November. So if you have a boat, any size boat, and would like to be part of this, it's a lot of fun. Thanks.
I got a rowboat.
That'll work. Hey, we'll put a few lights around it and we'll go.
Ms. Graves.
I attended the it was a 5K in Riverside Park for the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's Association. There were a lot of really great teams out there. It was a lot of fun. It was a great event and really worthy cause, close to the heart. And again, I was a celebrity chef last night, which was quite the undertaking, a lot of fun, and it's really great. These Boy Scouts are going to go to camp, and I think everyone had a good time, and I really applaud the people who got stuck eating the food that I prepared. So I think Mr. Kramer's chef did more of his work, but I'm not saying anything.
Hey, they ate all the food that I cooked, so I mean, it wasn't that bad.
My volcano was pretty good, though.
Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher will pass.
Well, I believe that concludes the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Or?
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, one other thing. On Monday at 3 o'clock at the airport, we're going to have representatives of the Blue Angels there. It's going to be a press conference. We would like to encourage you all, if you can, to be there for that and meet a couple of the folks, because May is going to be a big month in Vero Beach.
Thank you.
Okay, have a motion to adjourn?
Yes. So moved.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Boy, that was really